Gentlemen, as you know, not a single individual under the age of 22 has purchased a Yu-Gi-Oh card in the past 5 years. Ideas, go!
First of all, sir, let me just say I love your sweater. Second of all, what about that archetype of little girls, witchcrafter? Didn't that get any young women interested in the product?
No, that did, not have the intended effect. Johnson, what you got?
Minecraft?
Minecraft. Johnson, you are a genius! You're promoted! I want the archetype out by tonight!
Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka MBT, back again with another episode of 10-Minute Testing. While I am not but a fail-son internet yugist, my masochistic tendency to read the comments section means that I have my finger on the pulse of the TCG community. Because of this, I can proudly claim I speak for all of us when I say I am so bored of the current top tier. Spiral, Salamangreat, Orchist, Altergeist, all completely consistent and with the fundamental ability to access their game plan at any given time. Well, no more. I say down with consistency, it's time to introduce some RNG into the metagame. Presenting Adamatia. So here's the list and, it's not until you see 30 Percy icons staring your way that you realize how seldom you try unreleased archetypes these days. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is a one-stop shop for deck building, deck uploading, card searching, and strategy articles, some of which are written by yours truly. I'm proud to represent them, and I encourage any player interested in deck building to check out their website at www.ygoprodeck.com. Now, let's explore these explorers. Adamatia is an immensely satisfying archetype. In a card game where individual monsters often have zero relationship with the actions they're taking, and archetypes are often only synergistic insofar as their searchers specify everything with the same name, it's refreshing to see a tribe with a clear goal well expressed through intuitive effects. The Adamatia are divided into two categories. The Miners, that's ERS for any of you Witchcrafter fans in the audience, and the Eggs. Each of the miners has a specific condition under which they can be special summoned, and each can excavate, get it, the top 5 cards from your deck to summon one of the eggs contained therein. The eggs all plus when summoned by an Adamatia and are perfect synchro counterparts to their discoverers, hatching into extremely powerful 2-material monsters. In the graveyard, each egg can also shuffle back its associated attribute of Synchro Boss for a marginally useful effect, which comes in handy when your petrified pets are in a pinch. Adamatia also all but builds itself. While I often find myself jamming 30-card, 60-step combo enablers into new unsupported archetypes, none of the combos this deck enables are exactly linear. You'll summon what you can to get material on board and then make appropriate link fields, ideally involving Halqifibrax for Crystal Wing, Union Hanger for Block Dragon, and as many rises as you can arise. To build any of these boards, however, you're going to need to consistently find an egg off of your 5-card excavates, which means you've got to be playing a critical mass of babies. We're on 3 of almost every Adamatia released, with the exception of the middling but semi-searchable trap cards. We're also playing enablers for Crystron Halqifibrax, which is a phenomenal use of our excess eggs and excavators. Ideally, going first will end on enough colorful synchro bosses to constrict our opponent's plays, and going second we can abuse Adamatia Dragite's multiple compulse effect to clear the way for OTKs. So with that, let's get into the card by card. Firstly, our non-Adamatias. 3 Koakai Mairu Overload, which I should probably explain. The synchros summon rock-type monsters, and often you're left with a free normal or Doki search. This just struck me as the best Koakai we could be playing. Next is Doki Doki, which is absolutely insane in this deck. 1 Block Dragon for Hanger, and 1 Gub for Halq. Next, our Miners, Analyzer, who is a Cyber Dragon, Seeker, who can be specialed if you have another Adamatia, and 3 Researcher, who can be specialed if you've got a Rock. For Eggs, we're on 3 Leo, who can put an Adamatia on top of your deck, 3 Raptite, who can put a Rock monster on top of your deck, and 3 Dragite, who can draw a card. Finally, we're on 3 Ash. For spells, we're on 3 Sign, which is a Rock Reborn with Upside, 3 Laptiolite, which ensures your search fires, and 3 Instant Fusion, which has a plethora of utility. Finally, we're on 1 of the Steed's Trap and 1 of the Conditional Judgment, basically just so you don't yell at me for not playing them. In the extra deck, we're on Dragoon for Mud Dragon setups, 1 of the good Mud Dragon, 1000 Eyes, and for Synchros, we're on Crystal Wing, Dragite, which negates spells and traps and excavates to AoE Compulse, Leonite, which summons from grave and excavates to hand, and Raptite, which banishes from graveyard and excavates to special summon. Finally, we're on Mudragon, Herald, and Formula. We're on one extremely critical Xyz, Granite Loyalist, followed by Boral Sword, Hauk, Linkaribo, and Union Carrier. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Dark Magician, and do I miss the days in which this was not only a free win, but also the butt of every joke on the channel. Unfortunately, consistent access to Magician Souls and Dragoon has made this a force to be reckoned with. Let's see if we can beat these Dark Dinguses. Our opponent's going first. They're going to activate the second effect of Magician Souls before Eye of Timaeusing into Dragoon, and normal summoning a copy of Magician's Rod, setting one and passing. Okay, we should be fine as long as we can prompt Dragoon. We'll activate the field spell, which prompts Dragoon. Well, that's the opening we need. We'll use Doki Doki's effect to get a copy of Analyzer, then activate Analyzer's effect, and ooh, there's an Adamatia off the top. We'll special summon a Leonite before synchro summoning a Leonite and activating its effect. We're looking for Sign here, and what do you know, the fourth card from the top is in fact Sign. We'll activate Sign, and then bring back this copy of Analyzer, putting a Dragite on top before synchro summoning Rise Dragite and using its effect, unfortunately for our opponent, which does not target. We'll go ahead and bounce both Dragoon and that set card before going to battle phase and prompting the concession. While the last game showcased the ease by which this deck can build its disruption bosses, this game showcases what happens when they're allowed to set up. Unfortunately for us, our opponent is playing Dino, so we're going to have to set up pretty well in order to out their boards. We're going to lead with a copy of Doki Doki, special summoning a copy of Analyzer from deck. Afterwards, we'll fire the field to put a Dragite on top of our deck because I want to draw cards. We'll activate Analyzer and the blue boy on top. Don't mind if I do. We'll special summon Dragite, then activate its effect to draw a card. Afterwards, we'll special summon a copy of Researcher and activate her effect as well. We're looking for the red or the green here, and we do in fact find a Leonite, so we'll go ahead and special summon that before Xyz summoning Granite Loyalist, adding the final minor to our hand. We'll special Seeker and activate Seeker's effect. We're looking for the green, the green, the green, the green! Okay, we didn't find it. I'll go ahead and get a Dragite before link summoning a Union Carrier to put a copy of Block Dragon to the Seeker before synchro summoning a Leonite. That'll refill our hand for next turn, and we're looking for Sign here exactly. Thankfully, we do find it, which means we'll have a Raptite at some point during this turn. We'll use Needle Fiber's effect for a Seeker before activating Sign, bringing back the Leonite and putting a Raptite on top of our deck. Afterwards, we'll synchro summon a Raptite and reveal a Raptite, as we have so stacked, special summoning it to our side of the field. Now, our zones are a little screwy here, so we do have to pass back. In draw phase, we'll activate Leonite's effect to bring back the Overload in the graveyard, and then after our opponent takes an action, we'll activate Needle Fiber's effect in order to get ourselves a copy of Formula Synchron. What's missing the timing? We'll activate Formula Synchron's effect, they will set rotation in response, and we'll synchro summon a Dragite. Unfortunately, they have a mind control, which prompts the Dragite, and now we are a sitting duck. Okay, they're going to go for Lithiosagam, and then use two babies in the graveyard, oh my god, both Earths, to special summon a Soul Eating Overraptor and a third baby. They'll Overraptor to shuffle the babies after adding a UCT to their hand, and that baby will get a copy of Giant Rex from their deck. They'll special summon UCT, I'll activate Overload, they'll activate Miscellaneous Source, but you don't control it yet. That forces them to go into an Exciton Knight play, and yeah, I think we can actually out this. Okay, well, we're going to activate the Dragite effect in Graveyard to shuffle back Dragite Rise. We'll special summon a copy of Analyzer, and really we're just looking for anything at this point. We'll go ahead and special summon the Dragite, and then draw a card for our trouble. We'll activate Leonite's effect to put back Leonite Rise, and then special summon a copy of Seeker, revealing the Leonite that we just put on top of our deck. We'll special summon the Leonite, and from here we should have won the game. We'll go into Dragite, use Raptite's effect to put Raptite back, and now that we know we have one on the top of our deck, we'll activate Dragite's effect. We thankfully reveal two, allowing us to bounce our opponent's entire board, and unfortunately for our dinosaur opponent, we are now just going to style on them. We'll activate Researcher's effect, and wow, we are just finding everything here. We'll go ahead and synchro summon both a copy of Leonite and a copy of Raptite, normal summon a Doki Doki, and special Block Dragon. We'll get in with Leonite, get in with Raptite, get in with Dragite, and deal lethal with Doki itself. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Spiral, which is weird to say the least. Obviously, this is currently the top tier meta threat running the tables in the TCG, but it's not going to be by the time this deck is released. Huh. Well, for the time being, let's see if we can dunk it. Our opponent's hand is miserable, but it has 2 hand traps. Let's see if we can play through it. We're going to lead with a copy of Analyzer, then activate Analyzer's effect. Off the top, we need to find any egg, and what do you know, we did find one. We'll go ahead and special summon a copy of Raptite, and then Xyz summon a copy of Granite Loyalist. Our opponent will Droll and Mockbird us after, but I actually don't think that matters. We're going to go for the Sign. Our opponent has a DD Crow, so we absolutely have to find something off Researcher, and thankfully we do. We'll go ahead and special summon this copy of Leonite, because we have a Raptite already, before going into Raptite and activating Raptite's effect. Off the top we find, oh, a Doki Doki. Now remember, this card can summon any rock, so we'll go ahead and get that and special summon a copy of Analyzer from deck. We'll then go into a Thousand Eyes Restrict, take our opponent's monster, and might as well just link summon Boral Sword Dragon. So it's time for game 2, and yeah, that was basically the biggest brick in the universe. Let's see what happens when my opponent is allowed to pop off. They're going to lead with a copy of Quick Fix, adding a copy of Big Red to hand. Afterwards, they're going to activate Where Art Thou from Magician Souls to send a copy of Master Plan to the graveyard, and then Big Red to bring that Master Plan back. That's full combo. They're going to activate Souls to draw a couple of cards and go into Double Helix. They'll trigger the Master Plan effect in graveyard before activating Resort, and then activating Super Agent. Now that they know the top of our deck, they'll go for the Helix to get a copy of Drone from deck. Next, they're going to use Drone's effect and Rescue as well to bring back Master Plan and use Master Plan's effect for another Rescue, and then discard that Rescue for a copy of Quick Fix. They'll overlay for a copy of Recital. They'll activate Recital's effect for a copy of DD Crow. Next, they're going to link summon a copy of Appaloosa and then Rescue's effect to bring back Master Plan. They'll use Master Plan's effect again before link summoning a Barricade Borg blocker. They hadn't done that yet before activating Resort and then activating Monster Reborn. They'll Master Plan for an Assault and go into Trigate Wizard. They'll use Rescue's effect to bring back this copy of Double Helix, Quick Fix's effect to bring back itself, and Assault's effect to special summon a Super Agent, going into Nightmare Phoenix, setting 2 cards, and Sleeper Last Resort. Yeah, this is really, really bad. Okay, well, I suppose we can lead with the field spell. They'll activate Anti-Spell just a little bit too late to remember to hold A on YGO Pro Percy. We'll activate Seeker's effect, they'll Appaloosa, and that's the end of the game. So it's time for game 3, and yeah, our opponent's hand is just about as good as it gets. Well, we should be able to mount a considerable defense, despite the fact that we drew Block Dragon, Double Overload Analyzer. Let's just put our faith in the heart of the cards a little bit. We'll go ahead and activate Adamatia Analyzer's effect, and thank God there's a bunch of rocks on the top. Okay, let's go for Dragite, so at the very least we draw a card for our troubles, before Z-summoning a Granite Loyalist, and adding a copy of Researcher to hand. We'll special summon this Researcher and activate her effect. Oh, a Doki Doki, don't mind if I do. Let's go ahead and special summon that bad boy, then activate its effect to get a copy of Leonite to our side of the field. Next, we'll link summon a copy of Needle Fiber to get a copy of Seeker. Afterwards, we're going to synchro summon a copy of Raptite to find, well, the Raptite off the top looks nice, but we are pretty light on tuners, so let's get a Researcher instead. We'll then special summon a copy of Block Dragon and get it off the field for Union Carrier before activating Seeker's effect and Seeker's second effect. Now we have cycled through all of our minors. I'm feeling pretty good, and we'll special summon an Overload for our troubles. We'll go for Herald of the Arclight and Block Dragon before passing it back to our opponent and revealing a rock monster at end step. For turn, they draw another copy of Super Agent. They'll activate Super and will Needle Fiber in response. That allows us to miss the timing once again. At some point I'll read this card, so we can go into Dragite. They'll then summon a copy of Double Helix. We'll go ahead and overload that. They'll activate the Grave Effect of Rescue to bring back Super Agent, then Foolish Burial. Unfortunately for them, Herald of the Arclight has text. It's kind of macro. They'll special summon a Magician Souls, then activate Rescue's effect. We will Dragite that, and they're forced to make Linkuriboh and pass. Okay, we might actually be able to do this one. We'll go ahead and activate Dragite's effect and find off the top only one. Okay, let's go ahead and bounce that spell and trap. Next, we'll activate Union Carry's effect to give it 1,000 more attack. We'll go for Researcher's effect. I'm really looking for anything at this point, and thankfully we have found it. We'll go ahead and special summon a Doki Doki off of those 5 before going to Borrelsword Dragon, using the Grave effect of Block Dragon, special summoning a Seeker, and unfortunately for our opponent, it's time to style. We'll go ahead and activate Seeker's effect to special summon a copy of Leonite. Afterwards, we'll use Leonite's effect, and then synchro summon a copy of Raptite. We look at the top 5 cards of our deck. Let's see if we can find anything relevant, and we don't. We'll go for a Block Dragon, an instant fusion for a copy of Thousand Eyes Restrict, taking this copy of Linkuriboh, a Linkuriboh of our own, and way, way over lethal. So, we're back with the deck, and I did not expect that. Well, let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, it's consistent. I know a deck that relies on RNG sounds about as bricky as it gets, but I promise if you're building to excavate eggs, it's extremely hard to whiff. 2, this is one of the most flexible build-board decks I've ever seen. While the list and the extra are pretty set in stone, if you'll excuse my rock pun, the boards can pivot through Herald, Dragoon, Block Dragon, Spell Negation, Monster Negation, whatever the matchup demands. And 3, it's got no Xenolock to speak of, so it's more than capable of turning any halfway competent setup into a Borrelsword OTK. And the cons. 1, it can't beat Appaloosa. Each minor activates in hand, so if your opponent just negates them all, you're on to game 2. 2, it is very hard to play. You've got to be considering multiple branching paths based on the eggs you excavate at any point of the combo, which isn't easy to keep track of, especially over the course of a long event. And 3, it's not out yet. I mean, I don't know in what capacity the cards in this deck will be released, so if stuff gets pushed to the extra deck specifically, could take a huge hit in terms of explosivity. All in all, it's a clear early frontrunner among new archetypes, and one of the first new, unique meta threats in months. Start mining now, so your craft will be honed by release. So that's that. Thanks to my patrons, Protagify, Tyler Slacks, Mika Reichman, Crispy, Sir Tachyon, Emperor Stove, TJ Steakhouse, Pro Yugi Dad, Picnic Blasted, Burrito Man 93, Fighting Fang Wong, Donnie Fillerup, Meatmoto 27, Adam Sunquist, Isaac Jackson, Second, Lucas Geardis, Adam Trevino, Adrian Broad, Distrin, and others. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing. And if you want to be part of the process, consider following me on Twitch as well. See you next time.